radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Monday, June 12th. 162 days into the new year, just 203 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? An amazing show we've got right in front of us tonight. Terry Lovelace joins us, a former Assistant Attorney General, lawyer, ESQ, Esquire. We're going to be talking about his amazing encounter, Contact, and his new book, Incident at Devil's Den. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And get ready for this. I've wanted Terry on the show for many years, going back to when I had first heard about his case and him. And back then, it was a private conversation, and I was told that, you know, assistant attorney general and an attorney and so forth, and implants and Contact, and I was like, what? And you know, we've got to get him on the show. Well, he's not ready, and you know, you hear that, right? You're like, man, you know, okay, all right, well. It's taken a while, but tonight Terry is going to share his experience with all of you. So get ready for that. Tomorrow night, Rob Potter is here, and it's always great when Rob is on the show. Thursday night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by open lines all night long. Okay, now. Let's get everything out of the way. On Stellar is just absolutely amazing. And I was looking at the numbers for On Stellar today. Wow. Incredible what On Stellar has done. And it's just, this is before the beginning. The beginning hasn't happened yet, right? Still in beta. And there's a couple of more features and improvements that are going to be done this week. I'll go over that with you later on in the week when those kick in. But for now, the platform is amazing, and it's everything that we thought it would be and much, much more. And so as we start to phase out Facebook and YouTube and start to move everything over to OnStellar, you can go now and join. Okay, it's very simple. It's just the next great, amazing social media platform. Totally free to sign up. It's just a social media platform like Facebook or anything else, right? Totally free. And as a matter of fact, you get paid to join. Okay, so when you sign up, and it's very simple, you just go to onstellar.com. You sign up and go. Build your profile page like you do with anything else, and go. Start saying hello to friends and building your friends list, and maybe get a group started, events, write articles, do all of that. But when you sign up and you go to your profile page, on the left there, you'll see a wallet. It'll say your wallet, and there will be 10 tokens there. Boom. This is a token-based economy with the blockchain built in, and there you go. And it's done that way for a lot of different reasons. But it's a token-based economy. So you're going to get 10 tokens just to sign up. If you use my referral code, which is Jimmy, very simple. You use my referral code, you're going to get 15 bonus tokens. And you're going to go over and you're going to look, and you're going to have 25 of those tokens, OnStellar tokens, in your wallet. When everything kicks in Q3, it's just a couple of short months away. You're going to have tokens right there that you can spend and use, and there you go. It is wonderful. It is the Internet 3.0. So go now and join and sign up and participate in OnStellar. Okay, onstellar.com. ONSTELLAR. And when you do, send me a friend request. So cool. I mean, every day I got a pile of friend requests. Oh, by the way, use a profile picture. I'm warning everybody right now. I have got, over at OnStellar right now, somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 pending friend requests that I haven't accepted. You know why? No profile picture. No profile picture. No confirmation from me. Okay? And so I go, and I'm reviewing it all the time, and people will add their profile picture, and then I accept their friend request. So do it. Don't hide. Be proud of who you are. Put up your profile picture. Okay? I want to see who you are. I do. I really do. I want to see who you are. So do the profile picture. And look, yeah, thank you, Mark. Mark this is the infamous OnStellar placeholder pick. This is who you are to me. I'm tweeting it now. This is who you are to me on OnStellar without your profile pic. And I'm going to write that right here. This is who you are to me at OnStellar without your profile pic. There you go. See, and that's it. So I've got 500 of these staring at me in the face. I've accidentally accepted a couple. So if you slip through the cracks just because I was just clicking away, congratulations. But put up a profile pic. Do it. Do it. So many people over at OnStellar right now. It is just so cool. So OnStellar, you can still... of course, Twitter's not going to go away until something funky happens there. But you can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That is simple. Don't worry about Facebook. We update it once in a while, and we'll continue to do that until we make the complete transition. I don't know what to do about YouTube right now. That is just darkness that I just never thought I would see. Man. But over at OnStellar, there will be soon video channels. That's right. Okay. All right, enough of the dark stuff. Let's get to the good stuff. The Sandbox on Twitter is #F2B. Come and hang out with us over there. Okay, that is an amazing conversation station. We do 2,000, maybe 3,000 tweets a night. And so come over and hang out with us there, #F2B. We have 2 chat rooms, one over at Spreaker and one over at KGRA, The Planet. So you can hang out there if chatting is the way that you want to go. And it's so funny. Every time I say that, I think about it, and then I just go over and go, good evening, everyone. See? I do it in real time. And they know because they're listening to the show, and they see that come in. I'm like, yeah, man, church is legit. Church is legit. All right, and you can also email Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. If you have any questions or comments during the show tonight, you can tweet hashtag F2BQ, and I'll see it right there in Fade to Black questions. All right, let's get the show cracking. I'm ready. Breaking news. Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's right. KFC is getting ready to launch, wait for it, vegetarian fried chicken. Seriously. That's right. That's right. Now, yeah, let your imagination run for a second. They are perfecting vegetarian fried chicken. And it will be deep fried. Made of what? It's going to be a secret. But I have one thing to say. I've got about 10. But if you're a vegetarian and you go to a place called Kentucky Fried Chicken for a meal, you ain't a vegetarian. You're not. You're not. I just threw up in my mouth a little. Just I gotta swallow that. Man, that's nasty. Yeah. Isn't that bizarre? And it's funny to me because all the vegans out there, all the vegetarians try to make vegetables taste like meat. They do. And I get those very kind, very nice, very sweet dinner invites all the time that, they always say the same thing. I get them every day. Jimmy, we want to take you and Rita out for a gourmet vegan meal. You're going to love it, man. It tastes just like meat. Come on, you're going to love it. I promise. It'll be the best you ever had. The best vegan restaurant in Los Angeles. I get it all the time. All the time. And I get it. I really do. I do. We all love the taste of meat, even vegans. But how come I can't send out the invite that says, you know what? I'm just going to say it. How come I can't send the invite that says, Rita and I would like to take you out to a great steakhouse, to my vegan friends, and tell them it's grass-fed beef. It tastes just like grass. You'll love it. Come on. It's the best steakhouse in L.A. Only grass-fed beef. It tastes grassy. I can't do it. Isn't it bizarre? Double standard? Absolutely. And it's so funny when you think about it. If a meat eater like myself, carnivorous, if you go to a party, a meat eater party, everyone will look out for that odd vegan that shows up that needs to eat. I do it. Rita does it over at the house. We take care of our vegan friends. But if I go to a vegan house party, they never say, "Hey, Jimmy, come on over. We hooked you up with some cheeseburgers. We got you a special plate right here just for you. We're looking out for you." It doesn't work that way. Isn't it strange? I would love to go to a vegan restaurant and act like a vegan does at a steakhouse. just have those same reactions. and they just bring something over and I taste it and I'll just spit it out, start screaming, what are you doing? But we can't. It's a strange double standard. And I really kind of enjoy the observation. And part of it is that this is what is strange. And we see this throughout life. Vegans, okay, meat eaters, carnivores, right? Like myself, we don't mind vegans. They're cool. They're fine. No issues. Don't want to eat meat? Don't eat meat. We're not going to force anything on you. It's no big deal. Vegans hate us. Hate. And I'm saying a very light word there. It's actually worse than that. But they think we hate them too, like they hate us. And it's simply not the case. It's just not. Don't care. It's all good. We love everybody. But it's not the case with vegans. And it's just a strange thing. And the treatment that carnivores get from vegans, I get all of it. I get how you became a vegan. I do. Watched a couple of videos, read a couple of books. You're an animal lover. I get all of that. You get emotional. Maybe you saw a documentary and you cried. And I get that. I get how you got there. That's fine. But life is about choices. Life is about choices. And if somebody likes what they like, you don't hate them for it. If somebody likes to wear red pants and you can't stand the color red, that doesn't mean you hate that person, right? It's just life is choices. And that is what made this planet beautiful. And I say it all the time, that God made vanilla and chocolate ice cream for a reason. For a reason. So we can have choices. Jimmy, why are you poking the vegan bear? See, exactly. I'm not. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm not poking the vegan bear. I'm speaking the truth. Everything that I just said right now is 100% true. Any vegan will tell you that, and any carnivore will tell you that. It's just the way that it is. And I wish it would be different. Let's just all get along together. It's really funny. So now, you know what? I'm not going to go there anymore. I don't want to bring in personal stuff, but it's just the way that it is. And this beautiful planet of ours is populated by just people that are different. That's it. It's people that are different. And that's all. So can't we all get along? The reason why all of us are here, the reason why all of us are on this thing called Fade to Black right now, is that it's not about what's on the outside, and it's not about what you like or don't like. It's about what's on your inside. And inside you went through something personal, something emotional is what brings you here and is what unites all of us. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in anybody's diet, habits, likes, or anything like that. It doesn't come into play for me. And it shouldn't come into play for anybody else. It's what's on the inside. Why are we here? And that's what I'm so interested in. Sharing stories and experiences and what brought us here. So there you go. That's my take on it. That's my take. All right. It is funny though, isn't it? Isn't it? You know what? One day, let's fire up some video and let's go to a vegan restaurant. This doesn't taste like beef. Puh. Our next event coming up will be Disclosure Fest, put on by Disclosure Fest in the California State Parks, the Mass Meditation Initiative. It'll be downtown Los Angeles at the Los Angeles State Historic Park, 35 acres, beautiful. Go, it's a free event, totally free. All you have to do is go to disclosurefest.org and register, and you will get your free tickets. It's that simple. 35 acres, vendors, presenters, speakers, film fest, 35 acres, gorgeous, downtown, unbelievable backdrop of Chinatown and the downtown Los Angeles skyline right there. It is incredible. Full day, Saturday, June 23rd. We're going to see all of you there. Do not miss Disclosure Fest. Okay? Now, right after that is our Soul Tech Gathering at ECETI Ranch, and it's going down this August 9th through the 12th. Just go to soultechgathering.com. An amazing list of teachers and presenters are going to be there. Corey Good's going to be my special guest. We've got James Gilliland, Jason Quipp, Matthew Ryan, Michaela Sheldon, Teresa Yanares, Holly Marie, Mary Gabrielle, John Lund, Dana Harvey, Laura Cantu, and and Billy Carson, and others too as well. You're not going to want to miss this. And on Sunday night, we're going to have food trucks there that are going to come in. We're going to throw a party on the Field of Dreams. We're going to have a lot of our musicians and friends, and we're going to set up, and we're going to do all of that right there on the Field of Dreams. So you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to do sky watches every night. Got off the phone today. Steve Murillo is going to be there with his wife, Pat. So that right there is the reason to go to Soul Tech, right? Okay, not me, not Gilliland, not Corey Good. Steve Murillo and his wife, Pat, are going to be hanging out. Also, On Stellar is going to be there, too, as well. Scott Leslie's going to be there, so you're going to want to come up and hang out. And they're coming up as sponsors, but they're also coming up as attendees. So it's going to be just the event of the summer. I can already see how this is shaping up and how excited we are for this amazing 4-day weekend for everybody. And then a week later, I'll be over at the Dimensions of Disclosure in Loveland, Colorado, August 17th through the 19th. And Corey Good's going to be there. David Wilcock, Emery Smith, Teresa Yanaris, Gerald O'Donnell, Jordan Sather, and 20 other speakers and presenters. So tickets and info right there, dimensionsofdisclosure.com. And I can already see the Colorado Fadernauts. That's right. They're all going to be there in one group wearing their Colorado Fadernaut T-shirt. That was so cool. It's one of my favorite images of contact in the desert. That was so cool. So, dimensionsofdisclosure.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 800. Are you ready for this? Today is show number 870. Oh, man. 870. Right there, archive shows, custom apps, Apple, Android, all platforms, just $2 a month. And it's the best value out there. You get the apps, you get the automatic downloads. Everything is right there. Okay, so the podcast, just $2 a month. You can also become a Fadernaut in our membership section of JimmyChurchRadio.com, where you will get the bunker cam. That's right. You get commercial-free downloadable archives. And if you get the Game Changer, you get all that autographed fade to black gear that everybody takes pictures of and posts. Did you see that picture of Rajan in front of Guero's? Where did that picture go? Somebody needs to post that picture of Rajan in front of Guero's in Austin, Texas. That's an amazing, picture. Rajan, there you are. Just like that. Post, you're on Twitter. I want everybody to see that picture of you in front of Guero's. Such a cool picture. What? Who is that? Oh, I thought that was me for a second. There you go. Out of the fade to black mug. Rajan, I want to see that Guero's picture. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Dave Franco. today is 33. And I posted it because I said happy birthday to Franco because he's a pretty convincing stoner. So I'm just going to leave it at that. He's pretty funny when he does his stoner thing. Happy birthday, Dave Franco. And our dead guy's birthday today. Are you ready? I'm going to do this. Man, save the email. Our dead guy's birthday today is the guy who lived to 102 after getting 15 heart transplants. That's right. David Rockefeller. And he's still dead, allegedly. Maybe. I don't know. He's probably on some private island in Fiji. But there you go. Thank you, Rajan. That's what I'm talking about right there. That gets a retweet every time. That's right. Gueros, Austin, Texas. All right. Death Proof is the movie if you haven't seen it. On this day in history, it happened. 1982. 1987. In one of his most famous Cold War speeches, President Ronald Reagan challenges Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev with this, and I'm quoting, "Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." That's right, on this day in 1987. That was a game changer. Saw it myself. Fate or fact. This is a fate or fact. There is a baby right now. There is a baby named Netflix Jesus right now. Why, when, and where, I won't say. I will protect the identity of this baby's parents for doing this. But this is a vetted and very real fate or fact. Man, what are you doing? What are you doing as parents? What are you doing at the moment where Netflix Jesus as the name of your child just sounds like a good idea? What is happening at that moment? Think about that for a second. All right, tonight, very special guest, Terry Lovelace. He's here, former Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General, a lawyer. And we're going to talk about his amazing encounter and his new book, Incident at Devil's Den. Tomorrow night, Rob Powder is going to be here. And what I wanted to mention, because I did watch it last night after the show, was the summit over in North Korea. And the media is trying to, all the media, by the way, both the right and the left and the center are trying to make this like nothing happened and it was a big nothing burger and why didn't this happen and why didn't this happen? I'm not there. I'm not in that camp. I don't know, and to me it doesn't matter. I don't know why Trump is being nice on camera and everything else, but he got the conversation started. And when I think about where we were, 3 months ago with missiles being fired and crazy videos of the United States getting blown up and threatening Hawaii and Guam with nuclear destruction and, all that. To go from that in such a short period to this, I really don't care how we got here, to be honest with you. And I hope that things continue. I really, really, really do. The media is really trying to turn this into a negative thing, and I'm not buying it. I never buy what the media is selling, but right now, it's like too obvious. And I think generally, in a general sense, I think that most of us know or feel that North Korea ain't going to give up their stuff. We're going to have to really pry it out of their cold, dead hands. But nonetheless, things are toning down. And maybe, just maybe, amazing stuff will come out of all of this. And we've got to stay positive. I'm not buying the negative side. That's just me. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Terry Lovelace. Stay right there. I'll be right back on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at getthetea.com? A lot. But by federal law, we at getthetea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at getthetea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. Getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at KGRAradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, let's go. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple. At JChurchRadio. Great week here on the show. And tonight, Terry Lovelace is here. Been waiting for this evening for a very long time. Author of Incident at Devil's Den. Terry is a lawyer, former Assistant Attorney General. Terry was active duty in the Air Force from 1973 to 1979 and trained as a medic and an EMT. His entire enlistment was spent at Whiteman Air Force Base in western Missouri. Terry has a bachelor's degree in psychology at Park University and a Juris Doctor from Western Michigan University. And Mr. Lovelace was an assistant attorney general for the U.S. territory of American Samoa and the state of Vermont. In 2012, a routine x-ray of Terry's leg found a bit of metal the size of a fingernail with 2 tiny wires attached. What followed were horrific nightmares, spontaneous recall, and intrusive thoughts surrounding a 1977 camping trip that he took with a friend to Devil's Den State Park in northern Arkansas. His book is called Incident at Devil's Den, Compelling Proof of Alien Existence, Alleged USAF Involvement, and an alien implant discovered accidentally on X-ray. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Mr. Terry Lovelace. ESQ, by the way. Good evening, Terry. How are you?
Hi, good evening, Jimmy. It's nice to be here. It's a pleasure to be here, finally.
Well, you know, I feel a little intimidated. You're the first assistant attorney general I've had on the show. So, and I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. So, and this is the thing. You're a first-time guest, and we've waited way too many years to get you on the show. We talked about that earlier. But yes, you are a first-time guest, so you get the first-time guest disclaimer. The next time you're on the show, you're not going to get it, but you get the honor tonight, which is this. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. All right? Simple enough. You ready to go?
I am.
Now, oh, man. Okay. I almost want to start at the end and then go back to the beginning. Okay, so let's kind of start there. Now, you have sent us some pretty amazing images of the X-rays and some other stuff. Is it okay if we post those?
Yes, please do.
Okay. All right. So go ahead.
The story would make more sense if I start actually in 1979. Briefly.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll do that. But what I meant by starting at the end was that for somebody like yourself, in public service, and certainly an Air Force career and a career in law, you didn't have to come forward, even though you've had the memories and you've seen the X-rays. You don't need to come forward. You're retired. Life is good. You know what I mean? You didn't have to. That's
and
what
never had any intention of coming forward. I intended to take this to my grave.
That's right. And why didn't you? As a matter of fact, 3 or 4 years ago, we don't have to discuss how I was told about your case. But when I was told about you back then, you hadn't come forward yet, and you hadn't made up your mind, and I was pushing to have you come forward. But I respected your privacy. But then you decided to go ahead and write the book and come out, and I'm glad that you did. But what caused the decision? Why the change?
After 40 years of silence, I felt angry. I felt like, these things, whatever they are, that put their hands on me and put this thing in my leg.
Right.
I kept their secret for 40 plus years. And, this is how they repay me, with screaming nightmares.
Right.
And, it just got to the point where I felt the right thing to do was to disclose it and disclose everything.
Right. Terry, can you do me a favor? I hate to say something like this on the radio, but hold your microphone still.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, just hold it still. It's moving around. In your experience in law, the evidence that you have now, not only through memories and your testimony, but you have some physical evidence too. Is that good enough in court to use as evidence to prove your case?
I think I could. I think if you gave me 12 men and women on a jury,
right,
that I could present the evidence, I could present the X-rays, I could present the photograph of my knee showing there's no scar. Yeah, I think I could do that. I'm confident I could do that, and I think I did that in the book.
Yeah, there's no question about it. The evidence is overwhelming, and the book is a great read. By the way, it's really well written, and it's highly recommended. And we've got all the links up over at jimmychurchradio.com where to go and get the book. So that being said, I find that very interesting because I know that. As a lawyer, you were a defense attorney too as well, but attorney general. Now you're you're on the opposite side, right? You're prosecuting,
yeah.
And so you are presented with cases all the time that either have evidence that is strong enough or not, and you are telling people all the time, we don't have anything here. When you know that something has happened and but there's not enough there, or you're handed stuff that has got all the evidence in the world and you know that you're going to get your conviction or not, if you're a defense attorney, but you are presented this stuff all the time. And you feel that in your case, you've got everything that you would need.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great observation. I'll tell you, 2012, they discovered this thing, and for 2 years, I was really in denial about it. I just could not come to grips with it. And what the tipping point was, and people ask, how can you remember all this in such detail? And the reason is that when I returned from our camping trip, we were injured and we were under investigation by the OSI, and I thought it would be prudent to document everything that happened, and I did because I thought, if I'm going to be court-martialed for something, I want to have a record. And then afterward, when the nightmares began, my wife suggested to me, "Why don't you keep a journal of these nightmares?" And I started doing that, and I did that diligently, and it was a replay of all these horrific memories. Just played over and over again. But I jotted all that down. Those notebooks my wife kept. And in 2016, we thought they were lost. In 2016, she flew to Michigan to a storage locker we have there. And she found my notebooks were there, and some drawings that I had made were still there. And brought them back. And that's what gave me the evidence. That's what gave me what I needed.
Now,
my case.
My father graduated from Western Michigan, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah, we lived on the campus there. Yeah, he graduated in, I guess it would have been 71. Yeah. 71. When did you go?
Yeah, I went late in life. I went in 1990.
Oh, you went in 1990. Right at the top of the hill. Okay, so where the fountains are, right? Where the clock is, right? The fountains. There's a road there that goes up the hill, and at the top of the hill is Redwood Drive, and we lived on that corner. And so from our front yard, I could look down the hill into the mirror pool.
Wow, yeah, I can see that in my mind's eye. Yeah, I know right where you mean.
Yep. Lived right there. Beautiful campus, by the way. Beautiful campus.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
So, okay, so you wanted to go to 1979 first, and so let's do that. Why go to 1979?
Because when I left the Air Force, I took up running. They called it jogging back then. And
they did, yes.
But if you think about it, if you look at old pictures and movies, you don't see anybody who's running, who's not on an athletic field or running away from something. I mean, people running out on the street was kind of a new concept. So I started running, and I noticed when I hit the 2-mile mark in my run, give or take 100 yards or 50 yards every time, there was a spot on my knee and my right thigh that would go totally numb.
Wow.
And I could take a pin when I finished my run and define the outline. It was circular, about the size of a $50. And every single time that I did my run and hit that 2-mile mark, that numb spot, I called it, would come back. And I asked a doctor about it in 1980. And he's like, if it doesn't bother you, don't worry about it.
Right.
So I didn't. I didn't for 40 years. But when they took that x-ray, and it didn't hit me until I'm on the way home, and it's like, that's right underneath the numb spot. And I made that connection and then thought, well, that has to have been in my leg at least as far back as 1979.
Right. You sent us a couple of images of, you sent us a bunch of the x-rays. Rita is going to post these, and I want the audience to look at these as we're discussing this. When the doctor looked at the x-ray, just like you being a lawyer, when you're looking down at evidence and you have that aha moment, you may not necessarily discuss it with your client, but your mind gets going. You're putting the puzzle pieces together. What was your doctor's reaction when, he's used to looking at x-rays and looking at stuff, and what was his reaction?
The reaction to the implants was from the radiologist. And I was in the x-ray room, and the tech took a set of x-rays, came out and asked, Mr. Lovelace, did you have a shrapnel wound or something? I get my care at the VA.
Right.
Or have you been in a car accident or something that maybe could account for a piece of metal being in your leg? And I'm like, no, never. And she was puzzled, and she took a couple more films and a couple more. And in total, she took 8 shots of my knee. And she said, I'm going to have the radiologist come down and look at these. And he did. And the guy came down, and he popped one up on the view box. The first shot, the head-on shot, popped it up on the view box. And then he went over to me and poked me in the thigh and says, it'll be right here. And I said, what'll be right here? He says, your scar. There's a scar going to be right here, because that's where this thing entered your leg. And I said, doctor, I don't have a scar. And he says, insisted on examining my knee. So I took my pants off again. He looked at my knee, and he looks kind of confused. And he has an intern there, and he says, get a black light. And she came back with a handheld black light, and he killed the overheads and searched every inch of my knee, every square inch of my knee for a scar, and there was none. There is none. And I asked him, I said, doctor, how often is it that you find a foreign object embedded in someone's knee and no corresponding scar? And his answer was never. Never happened before. Never seen it before.
Your cat is funny.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Oh, no, it's totally cool. As I'm looking at these, the object was, you described it about the size of a fingernail. Give me some dimensions.
Yes, about the size of a fingernail, thin, I think maybe paper thin. The 2 wires, I would love to know how far up they go, but I don't have a clue. And it hit me afterward that, the VA is an entity of the United States government.
Sure.
But I can't complain about the quality of care I received from them. I received good care from them. But I was only able to secure 2 out of the 8 x-rays. And I know that they took a film of my leg higher up. That's the film I would have loved to have seen, because that's the film that I think would have shown where those wires led to.
Now, when it comes to implants, and, we all know Daryl Sims, and Daryl Sims is a friend of yours, and he's got a collection of them, and others out there. I've always wanted that compelling thing, like wires, something that was, and yours had those. How long were the 2 wires?
Well, they are as long as the X-ray allows. That's what I'm saying. We don't know, because they end at the top of that film. So there was a film that shows my knee from above that point, and I don't have it. And I would love to have that, because that's the film that would show how far up those wires went.
Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And now you had the implant removed.
Well, kind of.
Continue.
In 2017, and this is a little tough to wrap your head around. I woke up sitting in my living room, sitting bolt upright in my chair, and seated across from me is what I first took to be an Asian woman, about 4 feet tall, seated on my sofa in a non-threatening posture. And I looked at her, and I refer to her in the book as Betty. And what's interesting is Mr. Sims, Betty has been spotted in Houston for the past 40 years. Mm-hmm. The same entity. I drew a picture of her, and it's spot on to what he has, pictures from other people. And this entity sat in my bed, in my living room, and I was scared to death. And they communicate telepathically. So my first thought was, my God, that wig looks ridiculous. That's you can't control your thoughts. And she fired back into my head immediately. I heard crystal clear, it's the same as the last time. And I asked, and I thought, the last time when? And she said 1987. And I had some missing time during a motorcycle ride in 1987.
Right.
And I was scared to death because I thought, am I going to be abducted again? Am I have to go through that torture again? And she immediately fired back and said, no, you're not going to be taken tonight. And I thought, I wish I could get a better look at her face. And as soon as I thought that, she took her glasses. She had oversized glasses on, and I could see her face, and her face was familiar. And I knew this woman, this entity. I knew her. And I believe that this is the same creature, entity, hybrid, whatever you want to call her, that I met as a child. And again in 1987. Now, I don't recall her being a part of the 1977 abduction.
Right.
And I have no memory of the 1987 event other than what she told me.
But you knew her.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Instant recognition.
I find it very interesting and compelling that you are saying her. So when you say hybrid, but was there enough there that could she pass as human? Could she walk down the street?
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. With a
pair of oversized glasses, she would appear to be a middle-aged Asian woman.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, I think she could walk down the streets of Dallas and not draw a crowd. Yeah.
Now, we're going to be headed towards a break, and when we come back, we're going to go back to 1977. We're going to talk about Devil's Den, and we're going to go through all of those situations that you went through. We're going to do that in just a second, but I want to stay with her before the break. Yes. Were you scared, or were you comfortable?
I was terrified at first, and then I felt this calm wash over me.
Right.
And I had experienced that before. I'd experienced that back in 1977, whenever we first saw this thing in the sky, and I'll get to that. But I had this feeling of calm wash over me. And my wife is asleep in a bedroom just down the hall. And I think I could yell for her. And I thought, no, they got that handled too.
Right, so, they do. Right, yeah, absolutely. So, was she there for the implant?
She was there to ask me not to write the book and to talk publicly. And I said, what in the world who am I? What makes my story any different from anybody else? There are 100 books out there of people that have experienced the same thing that I've experienced. And she said to me that her hosts, she refers to aliens as her hosts. Now, I don't know why, but that's the word she used. It's an odd word. I mean, it could be, like a host welcoming a dinner party. It could be a parasitic relationship. But she referred to the aliens as her hosts. And she said, if you write this book and continue to speak, they're going to come back and retrieve these things from your legs. And I said, legs? I had no idea. I had one in my left leg. And I thought, when you communicate telepathically, you cannot control your thought.
No.
And before I can finish a thought, she would answer me. It's amazing.
You say amazing. I say creepy. I mean, because you're naked, right? That's it. You can't control your thoughts, and whatever's going to go through your mind, everybody knows.
And, I asked her that. I addressed that issue of privacy. I said, I'm not used to having my thoughts open.
Right.
And she said, just try, Terry. You can keep them private if you try. Now, I think she said that just to placate me.
Yeah. If everybody had telepathy, could you imagine going into a restaurant, how noisy that would be? Right. Oh. You know what I mean? Or a rock concert. The shopping mall, some crowded area, or work. I don't know. So there must be a way to block it out, I guess. But
yes, you would ask. I was going to say about the implants. I had the thought about the implants. I said, these things in my leg. My God, the thought crossed my mind. How many people have you put these things in? And her answer just blew me away. She said, many thousands over 3 generations.
Many thousands over, at least, well, that's a big number, but she could have said everybody. Right? She could have said everybody. Let's take a break right here, Terry. And when we come back, we're going to go back to 1977. We're going to start there. Why Devil's Den? And Devil's Den, there's been a lot of things going on up there over the years, too, as well. We'll address all of that. Our guest tonight, Terry Lovelace. We're discussing his book, Incident at Devil's Den, Compelling Proof of Alien Existence. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Terry Lovelace, talking about his book. It is called Incident at Devil's Den, Compelling Proof of Alien Existence, Alleged United States Air Force Involvement, and an alien implant discovered accidentally on X-ray. Terry is an attorney and former attorney general, assistant attorney general. How long were you at the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Vermont, Terry?
For about 5 years.
5 years, but that's a pretty intense gig. You know, I don't know how much action goes down in Vermont, but nonetheless.
Yeah, you know, it was, and you know, I had an opportunity to retire early, and I had some heart problems, and I thought, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to retire, and it was the right decision.
I watch the TV show Billions, right? It's pretty cool. And they had the season finale last night. But it's all about the AG, the assistant AG, the Southern District, Manhattan, right? And I got to tell you, that's about as an intense of a gig as anyone could encounter, you know, at the federal level like that. Lots of pressure. And for you, if another assistant AG came in and said to you a story similar to yours, what would you think? I mean, this person is crazy, or did you have an open mind and you would sit down and listen to somebody with an experience like this?
I wouldn't believe a word of it.
Yeah,
I throw them out of my office.
Right.
This hadn't happened to me. I mean, I can understand why people are skeptical. I would be skeptical if it hadn't happened to me.
Right.
But it did.
Now, why Devil's Den? Let's go back to 1977. How old were you in 77?
I was 22 years old.
In the Air Force?
Yes.
You were in the Air Force. And why did you guys pick Devil's Den?
At the time, I was working with... I was working in the emergency room with a good friend of mine. We worked the night shift for 3.5 years or so, driving an ambulance together. And we were a team. And over the time we worked together, we became friends and socialized. I referred to him as Tobias in the book.
Right.
And we became, you know, good friends. We socialized, barbecued, you know, played cards. His wife knew my wife, etc. And one day he came to me in the spring of 77 and said, "Hey, man, I got an idea. Let's go camping." And I said, "What? Are you nuts, Toby? We're city boys. I mean, you know, I grew up in St. Louis. You grew up in Flint. What do we know about camping?"
Right.
And he knew that I was an amateur photographer. I had a little black and white dark room set up in my home, and I love to take photographs of eagles and wildlife. And, you know, within 30 minutes, within an hour of Whiteman Air Force Base, there are half a dozen beautiful parks. But Toby was insistent. He said, "Man, this is the place we have to go." And I'm like, you know, Toby, it's a long way to go. Why go down there? And he says, just think about it. And I did. And the thought of it, I was dismissive of it at first. And in 48 hours, I'm thinking, well, maybe it might be fun. And then in 72 hours, I'm like, yeah, I want to go. It was a compulsion. We felt compelled to go.
Yeah, it reminds me of Dreyfus in Close Encounters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys get camping gear and you head to Devil's Den.
We get camping gear. We drive south, across the border, and there's a campground. And Toby's like, we don't want to stay in a campground. I'm like, well, isn't that what we're supposed to do? He said, no. He says, let's have a wilderness adventure. Now, here we are. We've never been camping in our life, and he's talking about a wilderness adventure, and I'm all for it. And he's like, let's find a nice place with some high ground, with nobody around us. You can photograph eagles. He was an amateur astronomer. Toby was just fixated. He lived to watch the night sky. And he said, I can star watch. You can take some photographs, and who knows? Maybe we'll enjoy it. We'll bring our wives for the next trip. And Toby just sold me on the idea. And like I say, it became an obsession to go. So we got there. We drove down and got there. And we skirted the park rangers. We stopped by the visitor center so Toby could snag a little map of the park. But, he almost didn't need it. It was like he knew where to go. I mean, in retrospect, looking back at it after a year or two, it was an odd series of events, but he knew where to go. I swear to God. And we went to a park. We went to a part of the park where the road degraded from pavement to gravel to just ruts, and then to a chain across the road. And Toby hopped out, and the chain had just locked on a link or draped around the other post. So he just lifted it up, dropped it, and we drove on through. And boy, we felt terrific. I mean, we felt on top of the world. And Toby made a note. He took a bank envelope and a pencil and kept a map of where we were going, which we didn't know how valuable that would be in just a little while. But he was always the navigator. When we drove an ambulance, I have no sense of direction. His sense of direction was unerring. And he led us up to, we were going on a steep grade upward, and we crested the top of this hill, and here is this, I call it a meadow, and there were late blooming wildflowers and grass, and it was just beautiful. And it was an ideal place to probably photograph eagles and scenery. It was gorgeous. And I told Toby, I said, this is great. I wanted to set up camp right in the middle of the meadow. And he's like, no, we can't do that. Don't do it. Set up over here by the edge of the tree line. And we argued about it. He was insistent. And that would be, the reason for that would come out. So later, we, instead of staying in the middle, we stayed back along the tree line, and we went, Toby wanted to set up camp right away. And I said, no, I want to take a hike. I want to stretch my legs a little bit. So we took a hike, and we walked, and we looked around a little bit, and there was a limestone bluff there that we got to. We did about a 3 or 4 mile hike. Laid down on this bluff, and both of us fell asleep, which was kind of crazy because I was tired from the drive, but I wasn't sleepy. I shouldn't have been drowsy. But we slept for a couple of hours and woke up and realized, hey, we better get back and set up camp before it gets dark out here and we're lost in the woods. So we hustle and we get back and we set up a camp, and we get a little 3-man tent put up. I got a fire put together, and we're laying around on these air mattresses, and I'm thinking, I remember saying to Toby, this must be the allure of camping. Because, we roasted some hot dogs, and it was nice. And I noticed that the forest in back of us had been loud. There had been like tree frogs and crickets and all the night noises you hear in the forest.
Life.
Yeah, and that all stopped. And it not only stopped, it was calm. There was no breeze even. And I said, Toby, you know, the crickets, you know, where'd the crickets and the tree frogs go? You know, what? And he's like, nah, don't worry about it. He says, look, we're laughing and cutting up. He says, just give them a while. They'll be back. They'll come back. But it left me uneasy. And we changed the subject, and we're just chatting. And Toby jerks his head to the left, and he's staring at something. And he asked me, he says, hey, were those there before? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he points to the western sky, low on the horizon, and there are 3 stars in a perfect little triangle. And they are they're all the same brightness. They are just about as bright as the North Star. But they're sitting low on the horizon where it could have been, and we were debating, were these couldn't be aircraft lights. We knew a little about aircraft, nothing in that configuration. And while we're debating this, it moves. And it turns like it's on an axis and does about a 3/4 turn. And we are like, whoa, we're awestruck.
So it spins from the center. All 3 just rotate.
Rotate in unison.
Wow.
And then it started to climb. And I said, Toby, if this is 3 independent lights, somebody has choreographed this beautifully. This has to be a single object. And he agreed with me, and we watched it. And as it went up in the sky, the higher it got, the bigger it got. And the 3 points of light just expanded, and it grew. The stars all remained equidistant to one another, but it got bigger. And Toby noticed that inside the triangle was much darker. It was jet black.
Yeah, you talk about that in the book, that as it appeared to be solid. You thought it was 3 independent lights or whatever, but now it's passing in front of stars and it's blocking out the stars. So now you realize that this is a solid object.
Exactly. And this is the point where I went from feeling uneasy about the silence to calm. And I felt this calm wash over me. And I remember I asked Toby, I said, Toby, are you afraid? And he's like, no, man, I'm not afraid. Are you afraid? And I'm like, no, I'm cool. Everything's good. And I'm like, Toby, you know, you're the astronomer. What is that thing? And he never answered me. And it got bigger and bigger. And Jimmy, it was enormous. I did a drawing to scale, tried to do it to scale. This thing, it was parked about 3,000 feet, I'm guessing, overhead. And I would guess that each leg of the triangle was a city block in length. And it was easily 5 stories tall. And on each point, there was a light panel that ran from the bottom to the top. And there were lights. That's where and I remember these lights would run up and down that light bar. And I remember thinking, that's what must give the illusion of a star twinkling when it's up high in the sky. But we're sitting there on these air mattresses. It's 3,000 feet over our heads, and we are almost to the point of disinterested. We are absolutely near apathetic. And we're laying there and just watching this thing. And Toby has the flashlight in his hand. And he said something like, I'm going to signal this thing. And I was going to grab it from his hand, but I wasn't quick enough. And he turned it on a couple times and shined it right in the middle of this thing. And as soon as he did, from the center of this triangle came a beam of light. And it just appeared like someone flipped a switch. And it was a visible beam of light. When I say visible, I mean, you know, like a high power searchlight cutting through fog. You could see the beam.
Right.
That's the way this was. and it was about the diameter of a softball, and it just flipped on, and it landed square in the middle of our now almost dead campfire.
Holy crap.
And, we should have been, we should have been hysterical. And I think I said something like, "That's pretty cool."
Now, you and Toby are in the bleeping Air Force. You guys know what we have, or you're supposed to. What did you guys discuss this at that point? The famous us or them, conversation. What is this?
No.
Didn't do it.
No.
And now I'm looking at one of your drawings and of this craft, and we've got it posted, and it's a great drawing, great recall. I have a couple of questions. On each one of the panels on the sides, it looks like everything is in a triangle shape, right? It's not a triangle shape. What's the word I'm trying to it's a parallelogram, but it's not. Is that the way it was represented? The grid, the squares, it's smaller on one side and bigger on the, so that's the way it was shaped.
That's the way it was shaped. I tried to draw that to scale. The lights and the craft is smaller on either end because it is farther away.
Right. But you understand what I'm saying. That was the shape of this area on the side. I'm at a loss for words trying to describe this, but it's not the same. You've got the sides are square. It's rectangular. The sides of the craft, but yes. The inside area with the grid is smaller on one side and bigger on the other. So that it was shaped like that.
Yes.
Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. And what do you think those were?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah. I
don't have a clue.
Yeah, looking.
And I recall, now we didn't really get to look. This is before the thing came down and we could really see it.
Right.
Because we're looking at it, it's above the sky. It's up in the sky still.
Right.
And the light that came down and hit the campfire,
right,
lasted maybe a minute or two, and then it flipped off, and immediately in its place came this laser beam-like thing, ultra purplish, bluish. Laser beams were kind of a new concept in 1977. I mean, I'd seen them on television, but this thing came from the center of the craft, just like the white light came from, and it would flick on and land at a spot, and then flip off for a millisecond, and then flip back on at another place. And in that manner, it darted all around a campsite. And I know that it hit me, 2 or 3 times. I know it hit Toby. It hit our car and the tent. And I guess that was some kind of scanner.
Yeah, mapping. Yeah, some kind of scanner. And you also describe, before we move on, that the craft was matte black, like flat black underneath.
Yes. And it was night, but the light panels on the side lit the thing up enough that we could see that the body of it was matte black. Yeah.
Any windows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the windows and some were lit. And at the very top, I don't do a good job of illustrating that. At the very top, there were almost like an observation deck or something.
Yeah, you've got little dudes there looking out. You could see them.
We couldn't actually see. We could see shadows.
Right.
But I couldn't actually make out forms.
Now, if this thing was the size that you think it was, city block on the side, 3,000 feet or whatever, it's ginormous, 5 stories tall. These light panels on each corner, these are 5-story tall light panels, correct?
Correct.
It just must have been phenomenal to see this and huge.
Well, I want to get to where it comes down.
Yeah, and also you describe the sound too really well in the book. What were you hearing?
Well, I should state that after the blue light went out, Toby said, "Show's over," and we went to bed. We went inside the tent and went to sleep. With this thing 3,000 feet over our head, we went inside and went to sleep. And I remember I laid down and I thought, my last thought, conscious thought was, Toby was wrong. The crickets never came back. And I hit my pillow and I was out. And then sometime about 3 a.m., I'm woke up by incredible flashes of brilliant light, yellow and greenish, white, and it wakes me up. And I'm thinking, these must be like overhead lights from a park ranger's truck or something. And this droning sound was, it's like standing next to a diesel locomotive or a big piece of equipment.
Right.
And it's not so much loud as it is powerful. You can feel it in your chest. And Toby's on his knees, and he's peering out the tent. And I could see in these flashes of light, there's streams of tears down his face. And I'm in a fog. I'm having trouble getting my wits about me. And I realize I'm in a lot of pain. And I'm like, Toby, what? And he shushed me. And I could hear rustling outside. And he whispered something to the effect of, "They're still out there." And I'm like, "Who is it, Toby? Park ranger? Who's out there?" And I got to my knees and I nudged him over and I pulled back a flap on my side of the tent. And I looked out, and the first thing I saw was what looked like about a dozen or maybe 15 little kids walking around this meadow. And I asked Toby, I said, "Toby, what the hell are these little kids doing out?" And he said, "Man, those ain't no little kids." And then it hit me. Then I was awake. Then all that fog was gone. All the apathy and disinterest was gone. And I was scared. I was terrified, out of my wits. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, not cool. Not cool at all.
Not cool at all.
Where is Toby today?
Toby is dead.
Toby is dead. When did he pass?
It's in 2014. I went and tried to find Toby, and I found that he was divorced, left the Air Force due to alcoholism, and had died in 1982. 1982.
And we're going to continue with this, but staying on Toby for a second, did you guys continue to work together at Whiteman, and did you guys talk about this afterwards?
You know, we never worked together, and something changed between us.
Right.
When this thing, when everything that happened was done, and these little figures all disappeared, and the droning stopped, and the lights changed all to white, and we watched this thing lift off like a hot air balloon. All we could think of was to get out of there, and I know it sounds funny, but I didn't want to leave the tent. I felt secure in the tent. Yeah. I didn't want to be in the open, just in the few yards to the car.
Yeah, I can't blame you. I would have done the same thing. What were the kids, the Grays, the ETs, what were they doing out there? Were they collecting stuff? What were they doing?
They were milling around in pairs of 2s and 3s. And, yeah, occasionally one would bend down and, pick up something. And then, as I say in the book, there was that 30-foot column of white light from the middle of the craft, and now it's just 30 feet over the floor of the meadow. Now I know why Toby was so insistent that we park back by the tree line.
Right.
And these little guys walked into that light and then just dissolved.
The the idea that Toby had to move the campsite over to the edge, the idea to go to Devil's Den, the idea not to be at a campground, all of these were Toby's. Where did they come from?
You know, I think that Toby and I were both programmed somehow. You know, I had experiences as a child, and you know, not like this. I mean, I saw a UFO when I was a kid. I saw a flying saucer. Not a great big deal. Nothing intimate like this. But and I lost my thought where I was.
We were talking about the ideas coming to Toby for all of these different situations. I mean, everything was, it seems, deliberate. You know,
it was absolutely deliberate. It was calculated,
right?
And I said that in the book, that on the way back I thought, you know, damn it, we were set up. You know, we were there for an appointment, and we were right on time. And I knew that they took us. We were hurt pretty bad. But I remember on the car, long drive back, we're hurting, we're thirsty, just absolutely incredibly thirsty. And I look over at Toby, and he's kind of curled up. It's a big bench seat in my old Impala. And he's kind of curled up into a fetal position. And I thought, I wonder if he's really sleeping. And I suddenly had the strangest dislike for the guy. And I shook my head, and I'm like, whoa, where does this come from? And I did. I had an absolute dislike for the guy, and I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't blame him for what had happened, but I just felt this dislike for him. The kind of dislike, like if you meet, you know, sometimes you meet someone and you immediately just there's a bad vibe there, and you don't care for that person. That's what this was like.
Was it the same? Did you pick up that vibe from him, that he was also feeling the same about you?
Well, when we got back to base, we were ordered to have no contact.
Now, and we're gonna talk about all of this in just a second, and also to have OSI step in is a really big deal. And so let's do that. Let's go ahead and take our break right now. Let's get this out of the way, because it's a perfect spot to segue about what happens next when they arrive at the base. Our guest tonight, Terry Lovelace. We're talking about his book, Incident at Devil's Den. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Terry Lovelace, and we're discussing his book, An Encounter, Incident at Devil's Den. And the links for the book are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And I do want to say to everybody that the details that Terry has on the are just incredible. The book is so well written. Tonight, we only have 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get all of this in, and you need to go back, and when you read the book and the details that are there, Terry, I'm very thankful that you did take notes, and your memory of everything is just incredible, and the detail in the book, it's just like you're right there, and we're leaving so much out, but that's the reason to go and get the book, too. It's a really great read. But let's pick up where we left off. So you and Toby, okay. You and Toby are on your way back to Whiteman, but you said something earlier I want to just address really quick. You said when you came out and Toby was on his knees, he had the tears in his face, that you were in pain. What did you know at the time what the pain was from, and where was it? Was it just your entire body?
It was just generalized body aches. I find out later that when I got home, my wife took my temperature. I had 104 temperature. So some of those body aches I could attribute to fever. But some of them I felt like I'd been beaten.
Yeah, you were traumatized. You were traumatized.
Oh my God.
Yeah, totally. And plus, you're an EMT. You know, you're a medic. So you know that there's something going on. If you've got some kind of physical trauma, it's your job, right? Did you diagnose yourself?
Kind of. Yeah. We pulled into his first service station that we could find open. In 1977, this was rural. There was nothing down there.
Right.
And I ran to the bathroom, and it was just a grungy faucet. I remember I put my hands under the faucet and I drank. I drank all I could hold. I couldn't get enough water. I was so dehydrated. And I splashed some water on my face. I stood up and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I couldn't believe it. I was beet red. I didn't blister, but it was like a terrible sunburn. And then I had my shirt up, and I realized I'm sunburned under my arms. Now, how does that happen? And I remember I thought, I would have had to have been a nude and like a chicken on a rotisserie in the sun.
Right.
I never took my shirt off during the whole thing. We use sunscreen. There's no reason for that. And photophobic. My eyes were so sensitive to light. And that and the thirst was just. But I think Toby was worse. Toby was worse off. His whole face was swollen and distorted, where my eyes were just puffy and swollen.
At this point, were you cognizant? Did you remember everything that had just happened? Did you remember? Did you remember the craft? Did you remember the little guys out in the field? The beams of light? Did you remember all of that?
No, not on a chronological order. It's hard to explain, but what it was flashes, mental flashes. And I would get a flash memory, and I would shake my head and say, no. And it was like, no, I don't want to think about that.
I wanted to ask you before we get back to the car and head to the base. Were the creatures, was ET, were they clothed? Do you remember?
We could see pretty well because the things on the light were the light panels had the whole place lit up like a ballpark. And we could see these little guys. They were like a gray pantsuit or something. They were clothed. We also noticed, I first mistook them for children, and then it didn't. Then I realized that they were their bodies were disproportionate to a human being. They were their legs were shorter, their arms were longer, their torso was extended, and the heads were bigger, and they walked with an odd gait. So I knew that these weren't human beings.
Right. What a nightmare. Just absolutely crazy. Cool in a sense, too, as well. But let's get back to the car. Okay, so now you guys, you get back in the car. You try to quench your thirst. Toby's in bad shape. You're driving. You head to the base. What happens next?
We get home, and I don't think for the entire drive back there were 2 words said between us. Now here's 2 people that just had this incredible experience, and you'd think we'd be comparing notes and saying, "Oh, what?" No, it wasn't like that at all. It was. I felt a distaste for the guy that I couldn't reconcile in my mind, and we didn't talk. There was no conversation on the way back. It was just awkward. And I remember I roused him. He was sleeping. I think he was asleep when we were about, and I told him, told ETA about 15 minutes, man. And he got up and he didn't say a word. And I dropped him off. We lived in base housing, in NCO housing. Right. I dropped him off. He got out of the car, and I think my parting words were, "See ya." I don't think he said anything. And he just, all he had was his flashlight. We left everything there. I had my wallet and my keys. We left our cooler. We left the tent. We left blankets. We left Toby's backpack, his camera, everything we left at this site. All we wanted was to get distance from that metal.
Did you take any pictures? Did Toby? Was there anything left on the cameras?
Oh, my God, the cameras. And this is worth telling because we're just not this inept. We were smart guys.
Of course not.
And part of our routine was we stocked an ambulance every day.
That's right. You guys had routines.
Stocking for this trip should have been a no-brainer.
Right.
And we made exhaustive lists, and we went through this exaggerated logistics. And I had my camera. I had different kinds of black and white films. I was reading Ansel Adams and looking at his photographs, and I had the film all put together. I had a new telephoto lens I wanted to try. I had a camp lantern I borrowed from someone and a hatchet. And we're 3 hours south, and I realized, Toby, I think I left that stuff in the kitchen. And then I'm like, punching the steering wheel. I'm like, no, this cannot be. And Toby's like, no, man, pull this thing over. You couldn't have done that. And I pulled the car over, and no, we didn't find it. It wasn't there. It was on my kitchen counter where I left it. The thought to use Toby's camera never crossed our minds. And I'm an amateur photographer at the time. I can't understand that. I wouldn't have been real thrilled about having a flash go off, but the thought of using the camera never crossed my mind.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. And you guys just, the attention to detail and everything else, but you guys just left, hightailed it out of there, and everything was just left. And somebody came back and got that stuff. And we'll talk about that too as well. So so you get back, you drop Toby off, and you head home. What happens next? What did your wife say?
I walk in the door, and my wife said, "Oh, hey, hon, you back early?" And she looked at me, and all she could say was, "Terry, what the hell?" And I sat down at the kitchen, and I said, "I need something to drink." And I remember she got me a tumbler of lemonade, and I just downed it. She kept filling it up. And she said, "What happened to you?" And I told her the truth. I don't know. And my memory's foggy again at this point. And I'm in so much pain. And she puts me in a tub of water, gets my fever down to 102, takes me to the hospital. And when we're at the hospital, I heard Toby's wife out in the hallway, so I knew Toby had to be there too. But I didn't know it at the time. We were listed as acutely ill, and I had the most intense physical examination of my life. And they admitted me to the hospital, and I want to jump to the point where I was there for 2 days. Or 2 nights, rather. On the third day, they kept the lights turned off. That's where I'm going with this. The overhead lights, because, man, an overhead light would just kill my eyes. I was still that photophobic.
Right.
And my nurse walks in with a hypodermic needle in her hand, and I knew what it was. It was my pain med, because I was due for it, and I could use it. And behind her came 2 guys in suits. And the one short guy, he was an older guy. There was an older guy and a younger guy. This older guy, I referred to as Agent Gregory in the book, was he had this flat top haircut. If you can recall or ever remember what those even look like.
Absolutely. I never trusted anybody with a flat top. You just don't do it. Okay.
No.
So.
Just reeks of intimidation.
That's right.
And he's got his suit coat open so you can see the shoulder holster. And the nurse came around to give me an injection. And the older agent who was in charge, the younger guy was a captain who didn't say much. He said, if that's going to sedate him, it's going to have to wait. We have to ask him some questions. So she left in a huff, and I didn't get my pain meds. And he shut the door and flipped on the overheads. And I'm like, sir, could you turn those out, please? And it did. It hit me like sand in my eyes. And he said, gotta see what we're doing here, son. Can't work in the dark now, can we? And they pulled chairs around next to me, the head of my bed where I was. The captain went down to the bed. It was a crank bed, not electric, and cranked up the bed so I was sitting upright. And the major moved everything off my tray table and slid it under my chest and started asking me questions. And they explained, first of all, he read me my rights and under the UCMJ. And I remember saying, sir, am I in trouble? And he kind of chuckled and looked at the captain and said, son, would I be here if you weren't in trouble?
That's right.
And I thought, oh my God, what did we do? I thought maybe we burned the forest down or something.
Right.
And he said, well, park rangers found your little campsite. And he said, now you left in the middle of the night and you drove halfway across the state. Now, why would you do that, son? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you come back? Did you guys have a little marijuana plot out there somewhere? And oh my God, that made me so scared. because I thought, God, if by happenstance, if there were marijuana plants out there, they could try to, hang it on me.
That's right.
And everything he said was to intimidate me, and he was very, very good at it. And years later, in retrospect, and after working with law enforcement, I could see that a lot of it was theater. But boy, at the time, it scared me to death.
Especially when you know you haven't done anything wrong.
Yes, he made a big deal about the trespass. He says, park rangers found your little campsite, and he says, did you know that was federal land? And I thought, who cares? What's the big deal? I said, no, sir. And he says, yeah, you guys are trespassing onto federal land. And he tried to make a big deal out of that, and I didn't understand it. And then he read me my rights, and then he laid out some forms in front of me. There were 6 forms. And I said, sir, what are these? And he says, son, these are waiver and consent forms. And they're going to give us permission to look around your house, look around your car, to see if there's anything that you shouldn't have. Understand, like anything that you want to hide. Now, you're not going to hide anything from us, are you? Do you want to cooperate and sign these? And I said, well, sir, do I have to sign these? And that's when he said something like, no, I can just take these away and we'll just see you at the court martial. And I'm like, no, sir, I want to do whatever I need to do to cooperate. And, I'm 22, I'm dumb, I don't have the benefit of a law degree. And I signed these 6 forms, right, where he points his finger, sign here, sign here, sign here. I signed all 6 forms and initialed a box, and he scooped them up, put them in a manila folder, and looked satisfied, stuck them in his case. And I found out that they searched my car. They got Toby's little hand-drawn map. Actually, the captain left in the middle of the thing and brought it back. The hand-drawn map and the map that he took from the kiosk. And he laid them down in front of me on the tray table, and it says, now, son, you got to explain these to me. Show me where you were. And he made me, look like you were above looking down. And he really tried to get me to narrow down. And I did my very best to, point which direction was north. He wanted me to draw where the car was.
Was he trying to trip you up?
His questions were always trying to trip me up.
Right.
Yeah, because what he would do is he would mix a yes and no question.
Right.
So, and he did that constantly. So I would have to say, well, sir, yes and no, and then try to explain myself. And then he said, now, did you spend the night in the park last night? And I thought he meant the campgrounds. And I said, no, sir. And as soon as I said that, he went ballistic. And he says, where did you stay? Expletive. The Hilton? And I'm just looking at him confused. And he says, you didn't stay in the campground. They found your stuff. Park rangers found your stuff out in the wilderness. And I said, sir, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. But that was the whole theme of the thing, was to keep me, off balance and intimidated. And I was intimidated. And they searched my home, and they searched my car, and they asked me questions about. He knew, because he told me, he says, I know you're the squadron photographer. He says, you got a reputation for that. And he says, I know you got this telephoto. And he asked me, what do you like to photograph? I said, I got a telephoto lens. I like to photograph eagles and the moon. I was kind of captivated with the moon at the time for some reason. And he says, well, I want to know what it is you take with this, what kind of pictures you're taking with this telescopic lens of yours. And boy, he just drilled me, and got to the point where the nurse came back and said, Dr. Sanders wants him to have his medicine now. I can bring doctor down here if you'd like. And both the guys stood up, and the old guy said, no, I think we're about done here. I think we're about done with Sergeant Lovelace. And the nurse left, the captain left, and shut the door behind him. So it was just me and the older Major Gregory, Agent Gregory, in the room. And he said, "You're to have no contact with Senior Airman Tobias in any way, shape, or form. That means not through notes, not through letters, not through a third party. Do you understand me, son?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And, at that point, I didn't want to have anything to do with the guy for some reason. And then his demeanor changed, and he went from this stern affect to just kind of looking like a regular guy. And he gets down next close to my ear, and he says, "Look, son, I know you two knuckleheads stumbled into something, didn't you? I know what it was, and you know what it was. Don't you? I know you do." And he said, "I just want to see a picture you took." And I said, "Sir, I never took a picture. I never took a picture." I said, "I left my camera at home. My wife will tell you." He's cut me off, stern affect back on, looked at me and said, "I don't believe you." And then he left. Turned the lights out when he left. I thought, my God, strange guy. But terrified me to death. And this no contact order with Toby was something, because I did see Toby one last time, and that was kind of poignant, and that was something I want to talk about, but briefly. But when it came time to go home, they gave us what I referred to in the book as a bucket of pills, and they gave us both. Assuming they gave Toby, I didn't talk to him, but I had all these capsules, and I was to take 3 a day with meals, morning, noon, and nighttime. And they sent a nurse to my house every evening to count my pills, to make sure that I'd taken them correctly. And about the 3rd day of taking these pills, my wife's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I feel kind of loopy." And she says, "Loopy, you're drunk. There's something wrong with you." And she made the connection, God bless her. She made the connection and said, "It's those pills you're taking." Now, I had a physician's desk reference, which at the time it had a photograph of every pill manufactured, approved by the FDA. God, I wish I'd saved just one of those capsules. And those capsules were not in that PDR anywhere. So these were something special made somewhere. And I stopped taking them. And within a week, I was back to normal, but it was gradual. So we would take and flush them down the toilet at every meal, so we'd be sure if she showed early, we had the correct number of pills for the pill count. But I don't know what that would have done to Toby's mind had he taken, all 14 days of those pills.
So, with the investigation, we've got about another 3 or 4 minutes before the top of the hour. How many times did they come back? And what about filing of a report? What did they ask you to do? How intense did it get?
It got intense. The Major Gregory asked me to do a written statement. And now, here I am. I know I'm not going to tell this guy I saw a UFO 5 stories tall in a city block long. I'm not going to say that because I know they're going to put me in a psych ward. I thought, but then, I wrote out my statement and I just kind of glossed it over. We went to bed. We got up at 3 a.m. We were bug bitten and sunburned and so miserable. We decided to come home and just left our stuff there by accident. And, of course, this Gregory guy didn't believe that. He believed when I was in the hospital bed and he got down next to my ear and said, "You two knuckleheads stumbled onto something." He knew what we saw. I no doubt, no question. He knew it. He knew all about it. And
well, and this is the other point that the audience really needs to absorb. OSI, Office of Special Investigations, is intimidating. And as somebody in the military, you always hear about OSI in the background. But as long as you run clean, you don't bump into those guys. But if you do bump into those guys, it is bad news. You've either done something really bad or their reason for being there is a bad situation that you may or may not be involved in. But nothing good comes of that. And that is what OSI represents. And that must have scared the crap out of you. And, OSI shows up at the hospital. We're OSI, and they're there for you. Everybody snaps to attention. That's what OSI represents. And I know that I'm not wrong in painting that picture. That's exactly what's going on here.
Yes. Yes. That nails it. It really does. I didn't know how to address the guy. I didn't know what to say. It's like everything I said was wrong, and everything set the guy off. And it was.
Well, what did you say? We've got about 1 minute here, Terry. So what did you say in your written statement?
In my written statement, I said that we drove down. We got there. We set up our camp. Well, we made a campfire, and we laid out on some air mattresses and watched the night sky for a while, went to bed, woke up badly sunburned and bug bitten, and then we drove home. 2 years prior to this, there was another event that I talk about in my book. And that's the event where I wrote the report that our CO took and used a magic marker to redact all the times in my report. And that may be the report you were thinking about, because that was unusual too. But as far as for this incident goes, it was a pretty straightforward written report, just leaving out everything from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m.
And Gregory, we can discuss this when we come back, but Gregory was also asking you leading questions. In my opinion, you're the attorney, right? But why were you guys going there? What do you mean you didn't take any pictures? Something special happened and you didn't take any, why were you guys going there? And he, these were leading questions he knew the answers to, but he was trying to get the answers out of you.
Spot on. That is absolutely spot on. Everything's a yes or no. No, there's no room for an explanation. It's yes or no.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Terry Lovelace. We're talking about his book, and it's an amazing read, Incident at Devil's Den. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We're going to pick it up where we left off when we come back. Stay with us. This is Fade to Black.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com? A lot. But by federal law, we at GetTheTea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at GetTheTea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Our guest tonight, Terry Lovelace, discussing his amazing book, Incident at Devil's Den. And Terry, we've got so much to discuss, and I can tell that we're going to do some overtime tonight. So there you go. Be prepared for that at the bottom of the hour. We've got too much to get into here. But immediately after the OSI guys, we're going to continue with that. But what was your treatment like in the Air Force after that? You were an EMT. You had very specific professional things that you did. But how did they treat you after this?
I was transferred, and I know that they did this to avoid Toby and I being in contact with one another. I was reassigned to work in a supply unit, and I'll tell you, it was my worst experience in the Air Force. Well, one of my worst experiences. I had a lot of good experiences in the Air Force, but this was not one of them. So the CO of the hospital was sorry to lose both of us. I mean, we were good EMTs, and I'm in a support unit, and I go to see my new commanding officer, and he says, go down and see First Sergeant Roy. We don't have need for an EMT here, but he'll have something to keep you busy. So I went down the hall, and there was to his door, First Sergeant Roland something, and I knocked on his door. The CO told me you could call him Roy. Well, he didn't want me to call him Roy. He told me to call him First Sergeant so-and-so. But just this, He was a rail thin guy with just this cold fish mannerism, and just looked for like he was. Well, I wasn't welcomed. I'll put it that way.
And what was your rank at this time?
Staff sergeant, E5.
Yeah, you're an E5, right? So you've got your stripes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got your stripes. And so now, well, you don't know it yet, but you've been downgraded.
Yeah, what they did was, in back of this building, the supply unit was an old building that must have been like a wood workshop at one time. And first sergeant walked me back there, and he says, I got something. He's pretending. He's like, I got something we can help you with, or you can help us with. We could really use your hand. He says, here's what I need you to do. He says, see that stack of plywood over there? And I thought, I'm not blind. And he says, I need you to spray paint 30 sheets of those 4x8 pieces of plywood. The paint is all in the cans in the corner there. And he said, here's a key. Come and go as you please. You got an hour for lunch. Be here at 8:30. Work till 5:30. And unless you need me, I don't expect to hear from you.
So we're talking about an E5 staff sergeant. EMT is now spray painting plywood.
I did. And it got worse, as if it could get any worse. And, after a couple of weeks, I started enjoying the isolation, because the other guys in the squadron treated me like a pariah. So, I started like, well, this is my workshop. I'll make the best of this. And, I did my best because, I'm proud of my work product. Always have been. Whether I'm, practicing law or spray painting, I want to do a good job. So I get done, and I go and I get first sergeant, and I knock on his door, and I say, first sergeant, I'm done. You want to take a look? And he's feigning this. I can tell this is all fake enthusiasm. He's like, yeah, Lovelace, let's go see what you've done. Let's go take a look. And he walked back, and he looked through these plywood boards I painted, looked through maybe a half a dozen of them, and pointed out a spot or two where the paint had run. And it wasn't anything significant. And I said, well, you got something else for me to do? Maybe something a little more cerebral? And he rubs his chin, and he says, well, let me think. Yeah. He says, you see that sandpaper over there? Go ahead and sand them down to bare wood. Come see me when you're done.
Unbelievable. And what about Agent Gregory?
Oh, I got to tell this because this was the last time that I saw my friend Toby, and Agent Gregory's a part and parcel of him.
Is this with Sheila?
Yeah, my wife is driving the car.
Right.
And I begged her. I said, will you please stop by Toby's house? Because I had this compulsion. I really didn't want to see the guy, but I felt I had to say goodbye to him. And it was a strong compulsion to say goodbye to him. And I talked her into doing that. And she pulled over, and I hopped out of the car, and I told her I'll be quick. And I ran, through the front door that, I walked through 100 times. And before, and there's Toby's wife, gives me a hard look and says, you're not supposed to be here. And just went on walking away. And Toby must have heard this exchange, and he walks around the corner, and he's a train wreck. I mean, he's wearing a dirty T-shirt, and it just wasn't Toby. And his jeans were dirty. He didn't have shoes on. And he walked up to me. He hadn't shaved. And I could smell vodka on his breath. And this is 11:30 in the morning. Now, and I knew Toby could nurse a beer for 2 hours. A 12-ounce can of beer, he was not a drinker. And he came out, and his eyes were bloodshot. And it was a real awkward moment. For some reason, that moment is burned in my memory almost like the birth of my kids. I don't know why, but it was important at some level. And I didn't know. I'm standing there, we're 2 feet apart, and I felt that it'd be appropriate to embrace him or at least shake his hand. But I'm looking at my shoes, and I said, I just wanted to stop by and wish you well and tell you I enjoyed working with you. And he was a short guy. And that's when I looked up, we made eye contact, and his eyes were just bloodshot. And he said, "It happened, didn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, Toby, it happened." And he said, "We're not crazy. I'm not losing my mind." I said, "No, Toby, it happened. You're not losing your mind." And with that, I broke my gaze with him, turned around, and I ran to our car. Anyway, hopped in the car. There were two policemen in a parked car in back of us, and they got my wife hemmed into this parking spot. And she's crying. She's freaked out. They're going to arrest us. And I'm like, no, you got to calm down. If they were going to arrest us, we'd be in handcuffs. Trust me.
Right. Did they follow you there, and you were only inside for a couple of minutes, right?
4 minutes.
So they were either following you or they were watching Toby's place and saw you pull up, but
could have been happenstance. We had a little orange Carmen Ghia, so it was kind of an unusual car.
Right.
But yeah, they followed us right on our bumper home. We were coming from the grocery store, and my wife parked, and I got her to calm down, and I grabbed the groceries, and I unlocked the door, and the phone's ringing. And I dropped the groceries, and I pick it up, and I said, "Sergeant Lovelace." And it's Agent Gregory.
Okay, so just to understand, you walk out of Toby's house, you say goodbye for the last time. He says, "Did this really happen? We're not crazy." He's obviously on the edge of losing it. You get back out to your car, and then there's a cop car with 2 cops in it that is basically blocked you in. So they've arrived. They follow you home after all of this. You guys walk in, you're calming your wife down, and the friggin' phone rings, and it's Agent Lovelace. None of this is coincidence.
None. Those guys parked out in front of our house, and they stayed there for 2 hours. But when I picked up the phone, I said, "Sergeant Lovelace," and the last person I was expecting was Agent Gregory, and he says, "Well, son, you just couldn't do it, could you?" And I knew what he was talking about. And I said, "Sir, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say goodbye." And he interrupted me. He was good at that. Interrupted me and said, "I want to know what you gave him, and I want to know what he gave you."
Well, they gave you a direct written order to stay away from Toby.
Yes, I violated an order.
You violated
and he told me that. He said, it really, me off whenever people disobey my order. And he said, let me talk about sarcasm. He says, "You're just dying to change uniforms, aren't you?"
Ooh, man.
And he says,
"That's a threat.
I got something in black and white stripes that'd look good on you, and I'll take your blue uniform. Would you like that?" And I was dumb. It took me a minute. He was talking about alcohol, Fort Linder. He was talking about the penitentiary. And I said, "No, sir." And he just said, "Watch yourself, because I'm watching you." Expletives deleted.
Did he ask you what you and Toby talked about?
Yeah. He said, he asked, "What did you exchange?" And he said, "What did you talk about?" And I told him the truth. I told him goodbye. I said, "Sir, I was in there maybe 4 minutes." And that was it. And then I didn't see him again or talk to Agent Gregory again until the interrogation that happened when I was in the process of spray painting. I'm sanding off the paint that I had just meticulously put on these boards. And it's, some weeks later. And First Sergeant comes out and yells at me. He says, "Lovelace, CO wants to see you. So I'm like, and he says, lock up. And I thought, well, that could be bad news or good news. So I lock up my shop, and I go running in, and I stopped to use the bathroom. Boy, am I glad I did. And check my appearance, and hustled down to the CO's office, and his secretary was there, and she waved me in, and he said, Sergeant Lovelace, the OSI sent a car for you. They want to see you at OSI headquarters. They're out front right now. I wouldn't keep them waiting if I were you. You're dismissed. And I said, yes, sir. And I ran down the hallway, and sure enough, there's a blue car right in front. And I went, and I got, there was a driver, and he opened the door for me. And I'd never been in the back seat of a police car before. I noticed, no hand cranks, the metal floor. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But he drove us the maybe 2 miles to the OSI headquarters, which was an intimidating building in itself. I describe the book, the architecture is Stalin-esque, if that makes sense to you.
I'm a military brat, so I've been on many Air Force bases and Army bases, and that is, whatever it is, whether it's OSI, civil investigations, all of those military police buildings are very Stalin-esque. They stand out. They stand down, I should say. Yes.
Oh, and he took me down a corridor, and he had a key. First we had to go through the locked doors with the buzzer, and then the door opens and clicks shut behind you like a bank vault. Took me down to this little room. The rooms were marked alphabetically, and he took me down to room D. And he opened the door and said, someone will be right with you. And he shut the door, and I knew it was locked. And in this room, there were 3 of those fiberglass molded plastic chairs they made in the 60s, and like a 1950s vintage military steel desk with a heavy padded chair. And there was a 2-way mirror. I didn't go and cup my hands and look through it, but I remember thinking nobody's going to be grooming themselves in this interrogation room. That's got to be what that's for. And there was a clock on the wall, and that was it. Little glass window, and I sat down. It was little after 9, and then it was a little after 10, and then it was a little after 11. And I was so thankful I made that stop at the bathroom before I left. And around noon, here comes Agent Gregory and the captain. And the guy opens the door for them, and they come in. And they don't say a word to me at first, completely ignore me. They're talking about golf. And he made me get out of the heavy padded chair and sit in one of the uncomfortable ones. And he said, and the captain's setting up his little reel-to-reel tape recorder. And he said, well, do you have any film for me, son? And I said, no, sir, I don't have any film for you. I didn't take any pictures. I didn't take a camera there. And he says, well, it doesn't matter much today. He says, we're going to just wrap this up today. Would you like that? And I said, yes, sir, I'd like that very much. And he says, well, you're going to be hypnotized today. And I said, what? I'm going to be hypnotized? And he says, yeah, they're going to give you a little medication, and they're going to ask you some questions. And I said, sir, but why? And as soon as I said that word, why, he pulled the sheet out from that manila folder and slams it on the desk in front of me and said, this is all the why I need, son.
You signed it.
Oh, yeah. I signed it in the hospital.
Yep.
No idea what I'd signed. And it was captioned, consent to hypnotic regression with chemical enhancement, something along those lines. And I said, sir, but I don't understand why. And he said that same line. He says, well, I can tear these up. You want to rescind your cooperation? I'll just tear these up and we'll see you court-martial.
That's the threat. That's what they do.
And that worked. That worked.
It worked for me. It would work for me. I'm cool with it. Give me the drugs. Let's do the hypnosis. That beats prison.
Yeah.
Right.
And this major knocks on the door, and the captain leans over and opens the door for him, and he comes in, and he's carrying like a shaving kit under his arm, like a leather little kit. And he talks to the two agents, to Gregory and the captain, about fishing. I guess he didn't golf. And they're having a little conversation. And he ignored me, at first. And then he pulls a chair. He makes Gregory get out of the comfortable chair, and he commandeers it and rolls it over and scoots it right, encroaches into my personal space, gets right up next to me. And he's a big, barrel-chested, sandy-haired guy with oak leaves, but no name tag. And he sits down next to me. He got this great big smile, and he shakes my hand, and he says, "Sergeant Lovelace, it's so good to finally meet you. How are you?" And I said, "I'm good, sir." And he says, "Stop, sir." He says, "Listen, for the purpose of today's little exercise, why don't you call me Brad? That is my name." And I thought, well, that's creepy. And I said, "Yes, sir." And he chided me and said, "Don't you mean yes, Brad?" And I said, "Yes, Brad." And he said, "Well, and for purposes of today's little exercise, may I call you Terry?"
Oh, man, this is just creeping me out, man. This is just creeping me out. Okay, continue. Oh, man.
And I said yes. And then he started a conversation of just routine small talk. He asked me where I was from. I told him I was from St. Louis. I rattled off some landmarks. He rattled off some landmarks.
Didn't he, Terry, refresh my memory, didn't he say, "Don't you trust me"?
Yes.
Man.
Yes. But that was right after we go through all this little chit-chat, and I swear it's like he read my mind, because I begin thinking, I'm just not all that interesting. And he shifts gears and takes on a real somber affect and says, "Terry, I know we've only just met, but do you trust me?"
Hey.
And I gave him the, untruthful answer. "Yes, Brad, I trust you." And he says, "Good, that's good that you trust me." And he says, "Well, today we're going to give you a little medication, and it's going to help you relax, and it's going to help your memory." And he opens his little shaving kit, and he lays out a little towel, and there's a syringe, a hypodermic syringe with a yellow fluid in it, some alcohol swabs, a bandage,
rubber tubing.
Rubber tubing, yep, the rubber tubing, and he's humming, and he reaches over and unbuttons my sleeve of my shirt, starts to roll my sleeve up, and stops and says, "Terry, you know what? We don't really have to do this today. You know what we could do? If you left something out of your report, or there's something you want to change, we can fix it now, and it won't be any trouble. Would you like to do that?" And I said, "Sir, I don't know what you mean." And he said, "I can ask these two gentlemen here to step outside, and me and you can have a little chat.
Oh,
what do you say?" And the agent stood up, and I said, "Sir, I told the agents everything I know." And the agent sat back down, and he rolled up my sleeve and put this tourniquet on my arm, and it was just bizarre. He complimented me on my veins. He says, "My, you have good veins." He says, "It's going to be no problem at all. You won't, this won't hurt." He made the comment, "Terry, it'll be like having a couple beers. You look like a guy who likes to have a few beers on the weekend." And I thought, "You jerk. What do you think? All enlisted people drink? That's,
Now we're going to be headed towards a break here.
Yes.
And when we come back, we'll discuss everything that happened in this session. But there was something that stood out in the book for me that I've been wanting to ask you about. At this point, Gregory, I believe it was Gregory, one of the two agents, Gregory says something to the effect of, "Oh man, this is so cool. I love it when we do this." I could have the wording wrong. It doesn't matter. But at that point, it's suggesting that Gregory has done these types of sessions with experiencers, right?
Yes.
With people that's what I get out of this.
And actually, it wasn't Gregory, it was the captain. And what he said was, he said, they're whispering, and I could hear them. And he said, I'm amazed every time I see this.
Right. And so they're doing these UFO, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're doing these UFO sessions quite often. That's what I get out of it.
Had to be.
Right.
I thought, they can't do this to everyone that sees a UFO. And then I thought, well, my experience was actually a little more intimate. But, and I don't know if I have time to get this out and understood, but I made my mind up. I was determined that I was not going to be hypnotized. And I knew, I had been taking psychology classes part-time for 2 years now, and I knew a little bit about hypnosis, and I had seen stage hypnosis, and I knew that, how people react kind of robotically and relaxed, and I was determined I was not going to let this guy hypnotize me. But I knew that I had to appear compliant. Now the drug concerned me because I could resist the hypnosis, but the drug I had no power over. And there are spaces where I have no memory. But what I did was this major said, and he had this smooth voice like a radio announcer. And he says, "Okay, Terry, now you still trust me?" And "Yes, Brad." And he says, "Okay, I want you to sit back, close your eyes, And then he gave me the injection. And then he says, I felt this flush, warm all over me. And I really did feel sedated. I felt sedated. And I'm fighting to keep conscious and to keep my wits about me.
Good
and
luck.
I'm thinking, the last thing I'm going to do is surrender my mind to this guy.
Right.
I'm going to resist this with everything I got. And he says, "We're going to go down. Terry, I want you to imagine stairs. There's a stairwell. Can you see it in your mind? It's 10 stairs, and it goes down to a basement. Can you see it? You're going to take the first step now. You're going down, feeling relaxed. Taking the next step, feeling 10 times more relaxed." And doing that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'll go backward on the number line. He's going down. I'll go up. So I'm counting, backward, 10, 9, and visualizing myself coming out of the basement instead of going down. And he gets to this point. He goes through this long thing about feeling relaxed and having me relax different parts of my body. And what I did was I flexed and tensed my buttocks, parts of my body that I could tense without it being noticed. Just everything I could to resist this guy and resist surrendering him my mind. And I did multiplication tables in my head. I played Beatles songs in my head over and over again. And
did it work?
Yeah, it did.
And we're going to talk about that when we come back after this break. An amazing conversation tonight, Terry, and thank you for sharing all of this. Stay right there. We're going to be doing overtime with Terry Lovelace. We're discussing his book, Incident at Devil's Den. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. Thank you so much for this, Terry.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to jimmychurchradio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at jimmychurchradio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Heading into some overtime with our guest tonight, Terry Lovelace, discussing his book. And it's an incredible read, Incident at Devil's Den. The links for the book are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And Terry, I do want to thank you in advance for this conversation tonight. And where this leads now, I'm going to help you along a little bit, because at the beginning of the session, you go over, you think you're in control, by the way. In reading the book, I'm not so sure. But you go through everything with Toby, and you describe how you got to the campsite. Again, leading questions coming from Brad, because they apparently know everything. There's something that I wanted to ask you that isn't in the book. Do you think that they have already, now, looking back in hindsight, did they get this information from Toby? Did they already interrogate Toby?
That's a question I would love to have answered.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But I don't think so. But I don't know. That bucket of pills, those pills, I don't know what kind of mental condition that put him in. Like I said, he was a train wreck when I saw him.
Right.
God knows what he told these guys. So, and I could see the reason why they separated us. They didn't want us to get together and say,
get your story straight.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So, okay. So back to the session. So you go through, setting up how you guys got there. Toby led you there and the campsite and so forth. But then they get to, I want to pick up here. They get to the lights in the sky. They know about the stars, right? They know about the lights. And I find that very compelling, very interesting. And so I want to pick up there because immediately after that, you go into your childhood. And that's where I want to lead up to. So they start asking you about the lights in the sky, and you describe the craft coming down. So let's pick up there. I want to try to get as much in before we wrap in the next 15 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. And Toby's name was mentioned.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Because in the interrogation, Brad said, you and Toby, you saw some lights in the sky, didn't you? But they weren't lights, were they, Terry? They weren't stars, were they? And he was big on these. Now, look, I want you to look in your mind's eye and tell me what you see. Don't give me your opinion or what you think. Tell me what you see. And I'll step in the effect of this drug because I had images that come to mind that I don't know where they come from. But yeah, he said, they weren't stars, were they? And I said, no, Brad, they weren't. And he says, well, who were they, Terry? Tell me, who were they? And I said, they were the space people. And I felt like somebody smacked me in the face. I thought, what? Had to come out of my mouth? What? Where did that come from? And I realized that without thinking, I'm answering some of these questions. And it must be the drug that they gave me. Because I certainly did everything I could to resist the hypnosis. And like you said, I think it was not a failed hypnosis, but a faulty hypnosis.
Faulty, right.
And what it did was it brought back all of these memories. It brought back memories from my childhood because he asked me about the monkey men. And when I was 8 years old, I had these terrifying nightmares about these four little monkeys that would come into my room at night. And it was always the same. They would come in and form a semicircle around my bed with my back to the wall. And this is, I know, odd, but they all wore white masks with this big, broad smile painted on them. And they had yellow eyes and long tails, and they looked like circus monkeys. And the one closest to me would always talk to me, but his lips never moved, but I heard him in my head. And he would say, Terry, won't you come with us? Come with us and play. And I remember thinking a couple times, did I go with them before? Have I done this before? And he would hold out a paw and say, come with us, Terry. And I would scream bloody murder. And these things would just go to shadows on the wall and be gone. But one of the most horrific nightmares that I have is I'm in that situation. I'm 8 years old. I'm in bed. The monkeys come in the room. The one closest to me holds out his paw, and I look, and it's not a paw. It's this hand with these four long fingers. And for some reason, when when I see that in my dream, that's the point where I scream, because that just freaks me out.
And Brad connected the monkey men to you and Toby in the meadow.
Somehow, yes. Yeah. The space people.
Right, right.
Yeah, because he kept asking about the space people. And I said, it's the monkey men. And that's when he wanted to know who the monkey men were. And again, stuff from when I was a little kid. He knew way more about me than I had any idea.
Right. And was this group of three, were they trying to make you feel comfortable, to keep you moving forward in your disclosing not only your childhood, but they were encouraging you?
Yes. Now, the two agents...
Were they trying to be your friend, is what I'm getting at?
The major did. The two agents gave this major all the deference in the world and scooted their chairs back because I could hear them scoot on the concrete. Now, I'm in a posture where my head's on my chest because I'm supposed to be hypnotized, and I'm thinking that's the posture to take. And Brad keeps telling me, in your mind's eye, tell me what you see, Terry. And he said, we're going to go back to the campground, Terry. And when you were in the tent, you saw some lights, didn't you? And he says, think about it and tell me what you see. And then I could see it. I could see it as crystal clear as if I were watching a movie. And they took us out of the tent. And I was inside this triangle. And it was more enormous looking from the inside than it was from the outside. And I recall everything was stainless steel and white. And I think I told Brad, too, there were 3 flying saucers. There were 3 saucers parked in a neat little row, like planes below a carrier deck. And we were being herded around by these, by the little gray guys. And there was a guy in charge, a taller alien, more humanoid, but gray still guy who appeared to be in charge. And he caught my attention for some reason, and I turned and I looked at him. And at the moment I looked at him, he turned and looked at me, and we locked eyes. And it was the most terrifying thing you can imagine. I immediately felt naked. I felt like he knew everything in my mind. He knew my secrets. He knew my childhood. He knew my wife. Everything in my head he knew in an instant. And I could just, in those eyes, when I look in my dog's eyes or my cat's eyes, I can see, love and trust behind those eyes. And behind these eyes, there was just intellect. Now, I don't know how I could tell that, but it was. It was just pure intellect.
You also described different types of beings at this point. Some were taller. And tell me about that. And it was a pretty large group, too, as well. And I think you saw humans, right?
Yes, I saw 2 groups of humans. And that troubles me to this day. And maybe that's survivor's guilt, or, I don't know what happened to these people. But, Jimmy, this is hard to believe, but there were 50 people in there. Various ages. There were children, there were men, there were women, there were black, there were white. There was just a mixed crowd of people. And they were all like me, and we're all standing there. And we're waiting our turn. And some are nude and holding their clothes.
What do you mean, waiting their turn?
They were taking us. There was this insect-looking thing that was over 6 feet tall. that was almost praying mantis-like with the big eyes, bug eyes. Now, in my mind, I picture this being wearing a white lab coat. Now, I know that's probably not real, but that's how I picture him.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I heard Toby screaming, and then that just filled me with dread. And then after that, a woman was screaming, and her scream I hear in my nightmares. This woman just screamed. And then the gray guys took me. And then, well, I know it, I'm nude, and I'm seeing this play out in front of Brad. And there are parts in this where I see things that I didn't recall. He dredged all this up from my subconscious or from somewhere. And I think at least 2 points I screamed and fainted or passed out. But the big insect-like looking thing, I was on the stainless steel table, and I would fill my lungs with air and scream, and nothing would come out.
There is another part, and the book is very detailed, everyone. You've got to get the book. We are literally just these are just little snippets of the story. It's done in great detail. But there was something here that spoke to me about our military, because you describe some of these humans wearing uniforms, and they were crew members on this ship.
Absolutely, absolutely, no doubt in my mind. They were dressed in tan flight suits,
right? And
they had orange, round orange insignias on their shoulder, and I remember orange stripes where a name tag would be. I wish I could visualize what was on that patch. I would love to know what that patch said.
Well, you're a human. You're there. You're abducted. You're screaming. You're terrified. Toby's freaking out. You've got a woman there also screaming. These humans in uniform, did they care? Did they try to help you, or were they? I mean,
to be honest, would not make eye contact with me. Would not. No, absolutely. It was like we didn't exist, and there was no doubt that these were crew members, because this one guy, and there was a woman too, a young Hispanic-looking woman, also, but this one guy was working on like a panel that looked like a breaker box or something. So there's no question these were crewmen. These weren't captured people like us.
Right. And Gregory's listening to this. What did he have to say about the human crew member? Because this is what I'm thinking. They know, right? These are probably Air Force personnel that are part of this project. This is just me going full on conspiracy. But what did Gregory have to say about the human crew members in uniform?
There were a couple of points, and that's one. When I mentioned that, there was a hush and discussion and a ruffling of papers, and Brad said, you're looking, what are you seeing, Terry? And I told him, I'm seeing the men with the orange shoulder patch. And he said, okay, well, that didn't happen, Terry. It did not happen. There were no people there. That didn't happen. And you'll forget about that, and you won't remember it, because it didn't happen. And they were freaked out by that. They did not like that. There were a couple of things that struck a nerve with them, and that was probably.
And was it because, do you think that you would remember this and repeat this and tell the world about this later? I mean, why would they have freaked out? I mean, this is secret information, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's proof of collusion, or
cooperation, right?
Yeah, I mean, we got guys on that are crew members. I don't know if they're American or not. I didn't hear them talk, but my guess is they were. I don't know why I just guessed that, but I do. But they could have been anything, but they were definitely human beings, and that absolutely struck a nerve.
Now, I want the some of this other stuff to stay in the book. I want everybody to go and read it. There's so much there, but I have a couple of questions for myself. The Jimmy Church, I'm a dude, I'm a guy questions. Let's get to some nuts and bolts stuff. Yeah. What else did you see inside of the craft? What did it smell like? Do you remember that?
I don't recall the smell. I've been asked that a couple of times, and I don't recall the smell. Now, I can't say that I recall.
Okay,
the smell.
fair enough. Did the craft ever feel like it was moving?
No, that felt stationary.
It felt stationary. Okay, now what? Next. You described stainless steel in white, and I get that. I get that visual. Was there anything on the walls? Were there any paintings? Was there anything? Was there anything like that, or was it just completely clean?
No, there were hieroglyphic-like markings.
There were,
and they were in, where you would have an exit, like over a portal or a doorway.
Have you been able to write those down and recall those?
I maybe could if I were under hypnosis. I bet I could. But I saw one thing that was ornamental, and it struck me. And I don't know if I even made it into the book or not. But there was a stainless steel panel, and engraved in the metal was kind of the stylized S, and then leaves, like leaves off of a plant.
Wow.
And maybe half a dozen. And I thought, and that was the only thing I saw that was kind of decorative. And it just seemed so out of place in this,
clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Session. Yeah.
Now, did you walk around the ship? Were you escorted anywhere else?
Yeah, they took us down the hallway. In the beginning, that's when I saw the group of 50 people, and that's when they took us, and the Greys herded us down this walkway that was to the side. Now, in the middle of the thing, it was all open for 5 stories up. You could look up, and there were walkways and offices, and I don't know what. But they took us down a corridor, and this is one of the things that haunts my sleep. On the wall, there was a row of aquariums, and inside these aquariums, there were these things that looked like puppies.
How big? How big were the aquariums?
The aquariums were all about 3 feet in diameter.
Okay, so they were circular.
No, they were square.
They were square. Okay.
They were square. They were square. There was a pinkish fluid inside them. And I saw these things that looked like puppies. And for some reason, one of them twitched. And I think in the book, I scream an expletive, and I must have passed out because there's a blank space there. And then I recall hearing the zip of the blood pressure cuff, and Brad was taking my blood pressure. But that visual absolutely freaked me out.
Now, when you say puppy, are you saying fetus, or are you saying something that looked like a puppy, like a dog?
At first glance, it looked like a dog puppy to me.
Right.
But no, I think it was a fetus. And then I recognized them as being human. And I say this in the book. At first glance, I take these for being puppies, and I'm looking at them, And then I can see, no, these are formed. There's a vertebrae there, and there are legs, and these are embryos, but about the size of puppies.
How many aquariums?
I'm asked that a lot, and I got to say 50.
Holy crap! Now, is this farming?
Boy, what goes back to me is my interaction with Betty, this alien that tells me that, these things in my legs, that they've been doing this for 3 generations now. And I had the thought, what is your agenda? And
wow.
I don't know if this is in the book or not, but she said something like there are alien human hybrids, and that's what she said she was, and that's why she had human characteristics.
She could have come from one of those aquariums.
That was my thought.
Yeah.
That was my thought.
Terry, I want to thank you. What an extraordinary conversation. And I can't wait to get you on the show again. There's so much more to talk about with you. We got as much in tonight as we could. And I want to thank you for that, and thank you for opening up with us tonight. The book, the links, and all the information that everyone needs is over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can go and click and go and get the book. It is a fantastic read. And Terry, just thank you for the book and for coming out and sharing these. These are emotional memories and encounters and experiences of yours. And this audience thanks you, and I thank you.
It's important, and I think people should know this. That this stuff is real. People should know it.
We have so much more that we need to talk about, and we will do it again very, very soon. Thank you so much, Terry. And I say it at the end of every show. Keep rolling that rock uphill. Don't change.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Great conversation right there. And all the way up to the end, I have got to get credits going and get out of here before the network just, does that thing and just cuts me off. And what a great conversation tonight. Again, the links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Terry Lovelace. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Terry Lovelace. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, Rob Potter is here. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.